G'day everyone, welcome back to another episode, Walk the Talk Style, where we're joined weekly with special guests across our industry, from support roles to agents, to hear about all different walks of life. And no doubt about it, again today we're joined by a very special guest who today actually reaches 12 months officially since joining and becoming a part of EXP. Buri, son, thanks for joining us, legend.
Thanks for having me on as always. And yeah, officially today is, my 1 year anniversary, I say. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to get down talking about, the nitty gritty today. This guy behind me, I absolutely love this picture because it's a picture of the current, the now, but it most certainly wasn't a picture of someone formerly, probably 12 plus months ago. So Buri, for those that may not have seen you on previous Walk the Talk episodes, just give us a quick minute to two intro on who you are, where you've come from and where you're at.
Well, I'm Buri Son. I work in the Paralawi area. I'm a real estate agent in the northern suburbs, predominantly in the Salisbury Council area. Before I was working at a traditional franchise model, but now I'm here with the EXP and absolutely loving it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I've seen your growth organically occur and happen over the last 12 months. So what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, for those that are watching, you're going to hear a little bit about Buri's story of how he came from the depths of being a former sales associate under someone else's wings and shadows to now going out and backing himself and propelling his own success. We're going to talk about the real life nuts and bolts numbers of the incredible numbers that he's achieved over the last 12 months. So sit back, relax, because this is going to be really candid, real and raw. And we're going to dive right into it. So, mate, tell us how you got introduced into the real estate industry.
It was actually my missus who pushed me in. I was going to go into the IT industry and do a bit of coding and stuff like that.
Yep.
But then she's like, "Oh, you're very good at talking, so why don't you get into sales?" I'm like, "Okay, I'll just go and learn, get my real estate license." And I pretty much applied everywhere, and no one would accept me at the time. So I reckon I applied over at 100 franchises.
Wow.
And then, yeah, it was insane. Like I'm the type of person that's not fake it till you make it, but just persist until you succeed.
Yep.
So I kept on trying to apply everywhere, and eventually I landed myself a position as a sales associate at a traditional franchise model sort of industry. And when I started working there, I was like, hang on a second, this isn't what I signed up for. It's a little bit different. Yeah.
Well, mate, let's talk about that. What was your perception of real estate? So 100 applications, 100 knockbacks. So obviously for somebody to get past normally 10 rejections, you're going to be pretty good in sales, because what we do in the industry, you're faced with objections and resistance every day, and you've got to overcome that. So to do it 100 times, what was your perception of real estate before you got into the industry?
Because I follow a lot of the American guys, big follower of Ricky Carruth and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I was under the impression that real estate, you're a business within a business.
Okay.
And you sort of just operate and do whatever you want without being told what to do.
Yep.
But it's a little bit different. I think only in Adelaide, or I don't know if it's the whole of Australia, but when you're working for a traditional franchise model, you're still an employee, where you still have certain requirements and targets that you got to meet in order to keep your job. I didn't like that, because I'm more creative when I'm free, and I sort of want to work when I want to work, and if I don't want to work, I don't want to work. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I thought, coming into the real estate industry, you'd be on a commission base only. And I wanted to be commission based. I said to my principal, hey, I want to be on commission only. And they didn't let me do it. I was like, why? It's more beneficial for you. It didn't make any sense to me. So fast forward to now, I think EXP is the only business model where I could be who I want to be within the real estate industry. So there's more to it than just the money side of things. There was the freedom that came along with it. Because I always, like I said, I wanted to be a commission only agent, whereas most agents here in Adelaide, they're on a retainer, which is, to me, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, let's just recap on that, because that's phenomenal in itself. So wanted to get into real estate, had 100 knockbacks and rejections of applications, I guess, for roles. Came into the industry with the perception of freedom, autonomy to run it your way, your own business, to then coming into a sales associate role and pretty much feeling like it's just a job, being told when to start, when to finish. Was offered a wage, of some
Yeah,
sort. What
yeah.
was that wage, mate? What was the annual wage offering that you got back then?
50 grand, but I
Yep.
checked what do they call it? Your notice of assessment. I was only making 45 grand or 43 or something like that. So
Okay.
it was really, really low. It's like pretty much minimum wage, but I was doing heaps of hours, like minimum 12 hours a day. It was insane.
Okay.
So
was that 42 or 43 grand inclusive of super or excluding, or was it 50 grand all inclusive with super?
I think it was inclusive of super.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So came into the industry thinking, I've got all this freedom. I'm going to run and build my own real estate business at Empire here, to then I've got to come in at this time. I've got to be finishing at that time. You've got to do 12 hours a day. What did a day look like to you for that $50,000 per annum, including superannuation? What did a typical day look like?
Stressful.
We actually should have put a before picture up here side by side with this one. We've got one, guys and girls, a before picture of Buri. He's actually shared openly with our group. We might have to share it as a little slide in this podcast of the before and now this, obviously. So pretty stressful, mate. Pretty highly strung out, were you?
Because I had to wake up just before 6. My office was about 40 minutes away from where I lived, and you had to beat the early morning commute, which is one of the most depressing things you could do, man. You're waking up early to go to an area where you don't even feel happy, and you're driving in this, long bank of traffic, and you just got all those thoughts going through your head, like, this isn't what I signed up for. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And I completely hate the commute to work, and I'll never go back to it. That was probably the worst thing for me. Sometimes it took me like 2 hours to get to work. It was insane.
Yeah.
But now, I just wake up and it's fine. But yeah, after you actually get into the office, you just start making calls, 9 to 12, which is nothing bad about
calls? How many calls would you average, mate, between that time, 9 to 12?
Well, you'd have to do like 30 calls a day, connected calls. So that's when
that's conversations.
Your conversations.
Yep.
So that could equate to 100 calls in a day. If you're not making calls, you're going out door knocking, and it was sort of like a production factory. That's what it sort of like, where you actually just go to a place and just have to produce, because if you don't produce, if you're not booking appraisal, you're not getting listings, you're going to be out of a job. And look, I sort of understand it from a business owner's perspective as well, because if you are a business owner, you got all these overheads. So yeah, you sort of got to push people to make sales and stuff like that. So.
Okay, so let me just understand and clarify this. You went into an office where your time was managed, your calls per day were managed. If you weren't booking a certain amount of appointments or appraisals, you had to go and knock on a certain amount of doors.
Yeah.
You were on a wage of some sort. So all this safety net of a wage, which probably sounded great at the time, because you thought, okay, cool, I'm getting 50 grand coming in a year, including a super. So I've got some safety there. But then on the other hand, you've got all these expectations around key performance indicators, KPIs. I hate that word. It's a shit word. Because you were being managed because you were on someone else's clock. You're on someone else's money. Yes, so you then approach them to go to commission only, and you'll knock back. You'll knock back. Well, why do you think that is? Why would that be?
I have no idea. I think they want to keep you on as a retainer for the purpose of, making more out of you or something like that. I don't really know why.
Do you think it's a control thing? Like, is it the control? Is it a power thing? Is it, we don't want to give away as much of the commission, so maybe we earn more by paying people a wage because the commission is far greater than what you can earn in a wage over a per annum basis.
From my understanding, the most you can get from a traditional franchise model is about 65% anyway. And you'd have to negotiate highly with that. And you have to be, making a certain amount of sales for you to be on a 65% split.
Yep.
To me,
would that be commission only, or would that be retainer?
I'm not sure, but a bit of both. I think if you did, like I said, if you wanted to go commission only, probably the most you can probably get 65% anyway. I'd be very surprised if you can get 70% in a traditional franchise model. I just don't think it'll make any sense monetarily wise for the business owner to be giving away that much.
Yeah. With risk comes reward, and with reward can come risk. So in the sense that I get a business owner pays the risk of a wage every fortnight or month or per annum, but the reward is that they might keep a bigger chunk of the commission percentage for that risk, because they're inheriting the debt. And I get it, being a business owner formerly myself, the overheads are scary. There is a lot of risk. So rightfully so, many business owners probably do deserve the opportunity to keep more because they are wearing all that risk. Yeah. And that, I guess, is a real vast difference here in South Australia, because the mentality in SA is most agents lean towards safety with very little risk, which generally entails a retainer wage. Whereas if we look at the East Coast, like New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, of the likes, predominantly agents there are more so majority on commission. So the agent takes the risk, but they reap the reward because they're keeping more of the commission, because the business owner is minimizing their risk. So mate, let's talk about it. So how long were you a sales associate for in this role?
About 2 years, I reckon.
How many homes do you reckon you sold in that time?
I would have averaged about 15 homes that I would have brought in per year, just as an associate as well. Yeah.
Yep. And you helped sell those properties?
To be honest, I did most of the work.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. The only thing that I didn't really do was the appraisal side of things. You'd go in with like a lead agent that would, you'd go together. But besides, I did most of the work. I did the open homes, did the door knocks, how you door knock around each signboards, letterbox and stuff like that. Predominantly, I was always at every single open. I try to be at every single open as much as I can. But there was sometimes I was just left by myself to do everything, even selling the property as well. Cool.
Okay. So 2 years sales associate, you were bringing in about 15 listing opportunities yourself from your support role that you were providing. In that 2 year period, like, even though you weren't a solo agent, how many properties do you reckon you helped transact over that 2 year period? Like, are we talking, what were you selling 50 a year in that support role, 60 a year in that support role? What were the numbers?
From memory, we tried to aim for 50, but I think it was more like 30 homes. Okay. So I was doing 50% of the houses that came through, but yeah.
Cool. So for 2 years, sales associate, didn't go out and do appraisals or listings, was helping the lead agents sell between 30 and 50 homes, thereabouts, on an annual basis. Tell me a little bit about your curiosity that has led you to where you are today. What were some of the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the pain points that you went through to start questioning your position at the time that led you to where you are now?
Well, I'm not so much of a numbers person, but I do my research and stuff like that. And I always wanted to make $1 million a year or 500 a year if I can. 500,000 a year, I should say.
500 million. Mate, sky's the limit, bro.
Yeah, big team for that. But yeah, and I was like, okay, how much should I actually retain after all that? And when I did the numbers in a traditional model where you have to pay 10% to GST, around about 10% to the franchise, and then you have to pay 50% of that away to the bosses, I started to question myself, like, why don't I just open up my own business and do my own thing, and then I'll keep retain most of it? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yep.
And I was like, if I'm doing all these hours, I don't even get to keep most of it. And for me to do $500,000 a year in a traditional model, you'd have to hire sales associates. You need at least 2, because so to retain 500,000, you would need to make $1 million.
Yeah.
And you can't do $1 million solo.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. So that's when I started questioning the whole business model. And I said, this isn't what I signed up for. I wanted to be a comm-only agent. I wanted to work when I wanted to work. I didn't want to work when I didn't want to work. Or, more so I just wanted to have a break when I wanted to have a break. And I didn't want to be working for someone else either. I wanted to be my own boss. And I researched many, many models. I interviewed other agencies as well. So I went to different traditional franchise models, and it was all the same. Like, there was nothing that was different. They had different deals, like, we'll give you $100,000 as a retainer. But I'm like, well, but I have to pay that back anyway. So it just still didn't make sense to me. Or, we'll give you supports, and we'll handball your leads and stuff. I don't need handball leads. I can get leads myself. I'm the type of guy that goes down and gets it myself anyway. And I don't want to be handballed to the point where, it just didn't make sense to me.
So what I'm hearing, bro, is you're shopping around like a lot of agents will, from different brands and offices, but you're just finding a lot of it just sounded the same sort of stuff over and over again.
Well,
Same offerings, promising retainer safety and security, promising lead generation, promise. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's many agencies that tried to strike a deal with me because I suppose they knew exactly the benefits I would bring to them. And funnily enough, luckily you sold my brother his house. That's how I met you. So I was trying to, I don't even remember the phone call, but I was trying to be a big dog against you, you know? No, building a pest inspection, and you were just the most nicest, funniest person. And then I'm like, what is this EXP thing about? So I sort of knew about it, but I didn't know about it, you know? And then that's when we started to get talking about EXP, and I was like, hey, this is exactly what I want. And yeah, as you know the story, I jumped over and life has been amazing.
You haven't looked back. All right, so let's talk about the now. That's the 2 years, folks, of being a sales associate, being on a retainer safety net, not earning income potential above that in terms of keeping commission, was bringing in about 15 listings on average a year, was helping a lead agent transact between 30 to 50 transactions per annum, was doing all the legwork, grinding 6-7 days a week, 12 hours a day, doing all the opens, doing all the negotiations, calling off, you name it, the buy follow-up, did everything essentially aside from listing properties. Yeah,
that's it. That's correct. Yeah.
Right. So now, fast forward, joined EXP 12 months ago to the day. How was the transition from being raised in a traditional sales associate way to then starting out and flying free with all the freedom you wish to choose and have from day one? What was it like?
Day one, well, when I came over to EXP, I was sort of I was worried that the culture might not fit in and stuff like that, because it's really hard to find people that you can actually genuinely like and genuinely care about your success. All right. And once I met the team, I met Bjorn, I met Mike, I was like, these guys are awesome, man. Like, I can learn so much from these guys and yourself as well. And just going out to appraisals with them as well. Like, there was a time where I had this appraisal. I didn't really understand the situation. And I called up Bjorn. I'm like, Bjorn, I don't really understand this situation. Do you reckon you can come out and help me with it? You know, you were busy at the time. Yeah, and he actually came out, taught me how to do the appraisal. Well, he took lead on that one. And afterwards, when we walked out, we recapped on the whole situation. He taught me how to do the appraisal. So I'm constantly learning from, you know, phenomenal agents like yourself and Bjorn all the time. But before I came over to EXP, as you know, I was running everything. So I sort of knew what I was doing, except for doing the appraisals. But that's when I started going off branching by myself and doing the appraisals by myself. And once I listed a few by myself, that's when I knew I was ready. Because I said, if I can do it once, I can do it again. Yeah. And then I transitioned over.
What was your biggest concern about making a move? What was the number one thing you were scared about, that was fearful in your mind about making a move?
You know this. I remember calling you. I was almost in tears. I was like, man, I need this to work, because if it doesn't work, I'm gonna be broke. I don't have any money. I know it's a commission-based only role. And at the time, I was pretty much scared of it too, because I had it drilled into me. You need a retainer and all that stuff. And I was like, I've never been in a commission-only role before. And you just reassured me you're never going to go hungry. It's fine. We've got plenty of properties to sell. If you don't have any for yourself, we're going to put you onto our stock as well and cut you in when you need to. Not that it's all about getting cut in, you know. But once I came over, and then with the icon trainings and stuff like that, and with the training you provided and Bjorn provided, it's like you taught me how to fish instead of just relying on other people's fish, which was a completely game changer for me. Now I just feel confident, you know. I've got heaps of money in the bank from this. So, it's amazing.
All right, let's talk about the money side of things, because that's where most agents generally find most interest, but it's always good to know the backstory of where you've come from. Mate, one of the things I love about you come from very humble beginnings, you know, as a migrant child and family. You had literally next to nothing apart from the clothes on your back when you came to Australia. And that's what I love, mate, is stories like this that changes lives, because you come from such simple upbringings where you had very little to now.
Yeah.
Like, tell me about how that, you know, maybe share with the viewers, like where you came from as a family, as migrants,
Yeah,
and
because
how your life's tracking along now.
yeah, because as some may know, there was a war in our country.
Yep.
There was the Vietnam War, and then there was the Cambodian genocide as well, where
Yep.
about like 3 million people died. So my parents escaped both those wars, and we were like our family was a refugee in a Thailand camp called Buri. That's where I was named after. So my full name is actually Buri, but I've just taken Buri.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was actually born in that refugee camp, and eventually we migrated over. We were able to some family sponsored us. Amazing family, I should say, sponsored us to New Zealand, and then we came to Australia.
Wow.
So when we came to Australia, our parents had nothing but literally the clothes and about $600. Clothes on our back and about $600.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you know what? Because of that, you put me into a perspective where I'm really, really grateful for what this country has provided and stuff like that, and to have the opportunity to be in this role and to do what I do and live the life I live now. I feel blessed every day. So, you know, and because of that, nothing's really hard to me. Everything's just easy.
You know, it's funny, like, and I seen real talent in Buri for this reason, because we do, let's be honest, we see a lot of spoiled brats and egos in our industry that come into it with a lot of money already behind them, or the flash car or the flash suits, and they have this incredible image, but they just have a flawed work ethic. And I knew you just had that work ethic. So you had the talent, you had beautiful, humble foundations, you had good family morals and ethics. You know, mate, we've been serving the Cambodian community in and around our area for many years now, and I've known them to be some of, well, I've known them to be some of the most beautiful, hardworking people out there. They like to have a good time too, you know, karaoke definitely. Nights and big spits, and you know, they put on a good show, as has your family. But geez, they bloody work hard. It's hard to outwork a Cambodian, given where they've come from, like you and your family, mate, because you've got that in the back of your mind always. That where we came from to what we have now. And it's hard to compete against that when you've come up from a white collar family, maybe raised in private schools and had everything gifted to you almost on a platter. So that's why I knew you had great aspirations ahead of you. So 12 months into EXP, you learnt the art of listing a property and appraising a property, because you had done everything else formally. Let's talk about the numbers, right?
Yeah.
So what's the GCI look like at the moment?
According to Agent Box, it's saying 170 grand GCI.
Yep.
I know I have about 50 grand coming in as well.
Yep.
So I don't think that's registered yet.
Cool. So that's 50 grand after your 12-month period. So Agent Box right now reads 170 gross income in 12 months, with another $50,000 in settlements to come in the next 30, 60 days. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep. That's
so you're going to 170. So you're going to be around 220 grand gross in about 14 months time of going out on your own.
Yeah, that's correct.
Cool. Sorry to cut you off, mate. What were you going to say?
I'll say that's 170 GCI including GST.
Yep.
About 150 GCI excluding GST.
Cool.
It's rating as 110 net. But again, I know I have about 50 grand coming in. So I'm going to probably finish this financial year at about 150, I reckon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's over.
So if we do the numbers, so your gross is 150, yeah, excluding GST.
Yep.
Minus the $27,640 that you pay to EXP, obviously. Your 220, that includes your 220 a month subscription fee to EXP, and the $25,000 that you part ways because you're on 75% up to your first 100,000. So in total, out of your 150,000 that you wrote, excluding GST, you're keeping $122,360 of that, right?
And it's amazing.
Whereas, so you just basically, in the last 12 months, you've given yourself $100,000 plus pay rise in 12 months. And I just want that few agents that might be watching this, that are maybe a sales associate, you're under somebody, maybe you're stuck. You've been with them like 2+ years. Look, I believe if you're a sales associate for any longer than probably 18 months, it's stale, right? And the value of milk and bread doesn't increase the longer it sits on the shelf. Okay, the value goes down. Don't be like milk or bread on the shelf that's going stale. If you're in a sales associate role for greater than 18 months, you have to be questioning why. Is it because it's for the lead agent's benefit and not yours and the business you're trying to build? Look, don't get me wrong. If you're a sales associate, maybe you do want to stay that way for life. And there are some people out there, they just want to be a PA for life. And that's cool. But if you have genuine aspirations to actually go out and list and transact and sell and collect commissions and to be your own agent, 18 months should absolutely be the capping for you to be fully skilled and experienced. And if you're not, you're going to be questioning, what are the best interests of you in that scenario? Is it in the best interest of the lead agent? Is it in the best interest of the business? Is it in the best interest of you? Or is it that you just haven't had the right support and skills and mentorship like Buri's had to be able to go out now and after 2 years in the industry, be his own fully pledged agent, giving himself over $100,000 pay rise from what he was earning in a safety net as a wage to now backing himself, going all in and keeping an extra $100,000 into his family's household account. Now, if we just do the same numbers there, Buri, let's say typically if you're on a debit credit retainer on 150,000, obviously, what would you say? What would you say is majority of the commission splits that you know for people in the industry that are on a retainer? What percentage do they get to keep generally?
50%, but then you got to factor in GST and the franchise fees as well.
Yeah, cool.
So that works up to like 40% when you think about it.
Yeah, so factoring in, let's just not include any franchise costs at the moment, royalty fees, whatever it might be. On your $150,000, you kept $122,360 with EXP, whereas your former life, from that same $150,000 in gross income you wrote, you would have kept 75%, 75,000. That's a big difference.
Probably less than that, wouldn't it?
No, 50% of 150, is 75 grand. So there's 50 odd grand difference just in the model that you were introduced to real estate in to now. That's in 1 year, $50,000 difference. Now, that doesn't include, if there's a 10% franchise or whatnot, but the swing is going to be around about you're $100,000 better off in the last 12 months by going out and being commission only, not taking the safety of a wage, right? Now, let's just be clear. That's 100 grand in 1 year, mate. Your business will organically start to grow each year. So that 100 grand could be 150 grand next year because you've got more market share, traction, results, repeat, referral of business.
Yeah.
But if we just went up modestly, let's just say you stayed at 100 grand better off for the next 10 years than where you're at before. That's $1 million.
Yeah.
That's $1 million in your bank account in 10 years' time. Now, how old are you, mate?
27, turning 28 in September.
So imagine at $37, if you could, at 37 years of age, you could have an extra $1 million in your bank account at 37. 10 years, folks. This is what I'm saying. So many agents have a short-term view. They go for the quick fix, whether it be a retainer, whether it be a deal and offering up front that gives them, a quick injection of success to make a quick move. This is a long-term game, and this is how Buri looked at it, didn't you, mate? You looked at this as this is your life, this is your career, this is absolutely your business, and you want that $1 million in your pocket by the time you're 37 years of age, not somebody else's.
Yeah, well, like I said, I do look at my life in a long-term perspective, and I wanted to find an industry where I can do it forever, if I can sort of forever, because let's be honest, you can still probably run real estate at 65 years old. There's no physical labor intensive work that you have to do. I can't. My family's predominantly in the farming industry, and the reason why I didn't follow in that footpath is because I saw myself not being able to do this work forever. And I wanted to generate an income for myself, but not just for myself, but for my family and my kids, so that one day they can, not live as hard of a life as I did, if that sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
And sort of break that barrier of generational poverty. So and real estate was really the platform that helped me do it. But in saying that too, it was like if real estate was a platform, EXP is the engine that runs it. So,
brilliant,
yeah.
mate. I'm very, very inspiring. And I don't know many young guys like yourself out there that don't think of more so today, being 27, you're thinking of when I am 37, how am I going to change that trajectory between here and the next 10 years? And you made that move. So, mate, that's, you know, it's an incredible story. And like I said, I get passionate about the numbers I know, right? Because there's always this thrashing in our industry of, oh, $1 million agent, oh, 100 sales per year. And that's cool. If you want to be that, that's great. But do you know how many stories that are happening right now, like Buri, that have gone out and in 12 months shifted his whole trajectory of his life by the means of nearly over $100,000 in 12 months? He's shifted his whole financial trajectory by $100,000. Look, 150, 170, you know, gross income earnings doesn't seem like a massive number for some. For you, though, from where you've come from and how much more you've put into your bank account, your net income position, that is bigger than any gross position.
Yeah.
And that's the message here. Gross is gross, right? But it's how much you're taking home, your net income position.
Yeah. I just want to mention like a big difference and change that I saw was when I was working at the traditional franchise model. I did go for a home loan as well. I was only granted near 400 grand. And as you know, in the current market, 400 grand doesn't buy you much at all. Fast forward to, you know, 6 months later, I just purchased a house, which is amazing, for about 600 grand. Yeah. Big difference.
And that's your net position, mate, over your gross retainer, safety and a wage income potential position to now how much you're putting into the bank, which is what the bank want to see. So that's essentially, you've improved your bank account by $100,000 plus in the last 12 months, but you've just put yourself in a position to buy a completely different property of a $200,000 lend difference to what you would have got as a wage safety net, to now going commission only, no wage, but earning more because you're taking the risk and you're rewarding yourself for that risk. So income's up, net position's up, bought a home, got married. Mate, you're just an absolute wealth of freshness. You've got this great aura and energy about you from where you were at previously, mentally, physically, quite fatigued and exhausted. What would be your biggest, what would you say your two biggest things are, mate, that have helped your position in the last 12 months? What are the two biggest things?
First one is don't overcomplicate things. A lot of people, when I was just a sales associate, I felt like everything was so complicated and you need to know everything. We're in a very, very simple business. We're just selling houses, guys. We're not rocket scientists or anything like that. We just got to put the house on the market and meet some buyers, transact the property. That's it. So don't overcomplicate things. If you don't know something, admit that you don't know it, and then find out the answer. I'm a big believer of persist until you succeed. I don't like that fake it till you make it attitude, because I don't believe in that. So it doesn't matter where you are in terms of your real estate career, whether you're only 1 year, 2 years, or 10 years. Admit it. Say, I'm fresh in the industry, but I will work hard for you as my vendors to get the result you're looking for. And be committed to it. You know, that's all it. Be honest and go in this world, in this business, to help more people. And that's it. If you're helping people solve their problems, the money will come with it. That's it.
Don't focus on the money. Focus on the solution to genuinely put and help people first. And again, going back to your humble beginnings, the opportunity you're given to go to New Zealand and come to Australia, I'm sure that resonates really deeply with you still to this day, synonymously.
No, definitely.
Lastly, mate, before we wrap up, because this has been an incredible, an empowering session, mate, even for me. I love having these sessions with you, because it you know, 14, 15 years in the industry for myself, mate, and this is what it's about for me now. This is where it's at, seeing youthful young guys like you and girls come into the industry and just fly free, have freedom of choice, and you're running business your way. What would you say is your strongest strength in your business that you've learnt and put in and applied to your business over the last 12 months?
Oh, that's a lot. There's so much to
One
choose
thing.
from.
There's something jumping at me, but I want to hear it from you.
I know it's very simple, but just be happy. Be happy. Spread the positive energy out. Even if you're in an appraisal or if you're making calls. As you know, I do all my lead generation and all that stuff, but I will put being happy above all of that.
Yeah.
Because the more positive energy you can put out, it will come back to you tenfold. Yeah.
And a fine example of that, guys, is if you jump over to Buri's page, whether it be his personal or his business page, Buri's son, EXP Realty, is it, mate? Yeah, EXP Realty.
That's correct.
Check it out. Maybe scroll back and have a look at his videos from 12 months ago, where I literally threw Buri on the spot. The first property we worked together, I was like, Buri, meet me at this property. We've got photography at this time. We'll get there half an hour beforehand. We'll open it up, do the lights. We got there. I said, here you go, mate. Here's the mics. We're doing a live video of the property. We're doing it right now. And he was like, oh my God, who is this freak of nature, Chris? He was like a deer in headlights, right? But now I watched the most recent video, 33 Springbank Boulevard, Burton in Springbank Waters. Stunning home, by the way.
Beautiful. To
see the transformation of where you're at with the video content from being thrown into being on the spot to now, the transformation's light and day. Like even my wife commented last night and said to me, how far has Buri come in the way that he now presents with confidence, not ego, confidence, but just how smooth and seamless you are. But you can just tell you're very relaxed, you're very poised, you're not stressed, and you're very present in your videos because you're not thinking a million miles ahead and overcomplicating what we do. And it comes down to that reason, mate. You found unconditional happiness. Yeah,
100%. I love what I do. I love who I am. I love the way my life is going. I love the people around me. I think right now in this current moment is, the most blessed life I've ever could ask for. So, I'm very, very happy that I've met you and everyone else. It's just amazing.
Mate, we are absolutely blessed to have you with us, and we all absolutely love you. And we're so very much privileged to ride this journey side by side with you. We're very proud of you, mate. And to see your trajectory in the last 12 months, not always about money. Happiness is up the top, there with family side by side. The numbers absolutely are key foundations that have opened up more options for you over the last 12 months. I can't wait to check in 24 months' time to see where you're at then. But guys and girls, if you've got any questions, maybe you're a sales associate, maybe you're just not feeling that unconditional happiness that you so deserve in our industry, maybe get in touch with Buri, have a chat to him, catch up with him directly, because it doesn't get any more real, raw and authentic than this guy here. He's like a brother to me. Buri, thanks for joining us, legend.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks, mate. Until the next episode, folks, walk the talk style. Bye for now. Cheers.
Hey, guys.